Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Gypsy.
Okay, I've done a lot of theater in my time, a lot of theater, and they say the worst thing you can do is turn your back to the audience, so hold on a second. All right, I gotta get this out of the way. I hope I don't fart while I'm standing here. That'll be really loud and they'll hear it too. Oh, okay, now that I've done that, the rest of this ought to be easy. All right, now, what the hell? It's broke. Now, recently, I was reading the National Enquirer. You know what the National Enquirer is, right? That's the paper that you line your cat box with, and the cat looks at you and say, no, man, that's redundant. Really, seriously. I was reading the Enquirer. There's a story. You probably heard it. This kid sued his parents for putting him on ground. They grounded him. He took him to court. We're going to sue you. When I was growing up, and I'm sure a lot of you know this for sure, if your parents didn't spank you at least once a day, you thought that they didn't love you. My dad would come up to me, son, bend over. Why? You get a spanking. Dad, that hurt. Quit your fucking blubbering. Dad, that hurt. I did it because I love you. Dad don't love me so much. And my dad was great. My dad was great. He worked hard. We lived in a little town called Ithaca, Nebraska. Anybody know where Ithaca is? No, you don't. Stephen King was driving through Ithaca when he wrote Children of the Corn. Trust me. Trust me. You come in this town on a dirt road. On either side of the road, there's these 10-foot high corn stalks up on either side of the road. You come in this little town, there ain't nothing there. There's nothing. But Dad built corn cribs. This is what he did up in Ithaca, Nebraska. He built corn cribs. Dad usually wasn't home till about 7, 8 o'clock at night. This is hard work. A lot of corn up there. He got to crib it somewhere, you know. I come home from school one day. Now, let me tell you about this school. It was a 2-room schoolhouse. Literally a 2-room schoolhouse. You had kindergarten through 3rd grade on one side. You had 4th through 6th on the other side. It had no plumbing. It had a water hose outside. That's what it had. It had no indoor plumbing. It had an outhouse. An outhouse. Real honest to goodness, if you need to go, you went out to that outhouse. I come home from school one day in kindergarten. Dad's on the front porch. Boy. Dad called you boy, you were in trouble. If you were a son, he loved you. If he called you boy, you were in trouble. Boy, got a question for you. Yes, sir. Did you and a couple of your friends tip over that little house behind the school today? Yes, sir. Get around behind the house. Man, I was going to get a whooping. But Dad, quit your fucking blubbering. But Dad, they told us that story about George Washington in school, and he chopped down the cherry tree, and his daddy didn't whip him. Yeah, but George Washington's teacher wasn't sitting in that cherry tree when he chopped it down either. Now get your ass up behind the house. My dad, boy, I tell you what, he could deal out punishment. I got even with him. He took me up bear hunting in Montana one year. We got up there late. We were on top of this knoll up there in Montana, and there was like woods down below us, these big pine trees, and you could see that creek running down below there. Across the way, there was an identical knoll. Knoll's just a flat, bald spot, in case you don't know what that is. And there was all these trees around it, and I'm sure from the other side you could see that creek down below. We got up there late, pitch camp. Got up the next morning. Dad said, I'm going to go down the creek and I'm going to get some water. You get that fire stoked. Yes, sir. Now, as Dad started down the path through them woods down that creek, I looked across the way and I could see a bear up there on that knoll. And that bear started down through them woods at the same time Dad did. Now, I could have said, hey, Dad, bear! I thought, this would be funny as hell. So I'm watching. I swear to God, Dad and that bear broke the woods both at the same time. Dad had his head down carrying that pail. Bear had his head down walking to the creek. They both looked up at the same time. Ah! Dad threw the pail up. He was coming up the hill. The bear went, woo! Went up the hill the other direction. By the time Dad got up the hill, I was already on the ground rolling. But when they both hit the hill at the same time, they both turned back around and looked at each other. I lost it. Boy, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Now, I got the pleasure of spending an hour or two with my dad, just me and him alone, a week before he died. Now, Daddy fought liver and lung cancer and brain cancer for about 5 years, which was great. Don't feel sad. He was a tough man, okay? And I had this hour with him, 2 hours, whatever it was. And I will always cherish that moment. The funeral was great. He was buried down in Baldwin City. There was 200 people in this chapel. I'm not kidding. I walked in there, I was shocked. I didn't know Dad knew that many people. And I go into this chapel, and here's this coffin. Dad's laying out there in the coffin. Everybody's crying. Ernie's gone. And the minister gets up there, and he looks out over the congregation and all these crying eyes. And he said, I wonder what Ernie would say if he was here today. And in one voice, everybody said, quit your fucking blubbering. My dad taught me to leave him laughing. I guess I did that. I am the Gypsy and you're not, and thank you for listening to me.